I feel as though I have stars in my eyes, being given the honour of introducing Patricia Keiko Hamzahee. Patricia, when I read about her more and more, seems to be one of these individuals who has somehow been able to lead several lives. She is a real expert at forming new connections and partnerships between groups that might not otherwise meet. So Patricia is a newer board member for one of our partners on Ideas in Action, Social Enterprise UK. She has 20 years experience in investment banking and senior communications. She founded and directed the Black Funding Network and Extend Ventures, which diversifies access to funding for Black and ethnic minority businesses. And in addition to that, somehow she also holds a range of board positions. She's lived and worked in the United States, Asia, and Europe. Patricia uses this broad and deep strategic experience and expertise to increase understanding between the corporate, financial, political and social worlds to form stronger partnerships with each other. And she's doing fantastic work to help close the gap between social enterprise and private capital to help create positive social change. I know that Patricia is going to share some thoughts with us on the particular challenges of commercial and social businesses accessing funding, particularly in groups founded by Black and racialized ethnic minorities, to talk about the challenges and anomalies and some potential solutions. So could we give a warm welcome, maybe a death clap as well, to Patricia, who's going to speak to us. Welcome, Patricia. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you all for allowing me to speak to you. And I have to say that I'm particularly humbled to follow Reza with his remarkable personal story and the amazing work he does. I have a completely different experience to Reza, and perhaps many of you who have come to this country as a refugee. I came to this country from the United States, you can tell from my accent, over 30 years ago as a privileged transferee from New York City. My bank sent me here. I had comfortable life, everything was wonderful. So I didn't necessarily have that lived experience from that immediate background. But I would like to say that I share some of the challenges from my earlier life. So I was not born and raised in America. I was born and raised in Japan, actually. I'm half Japanese and I'm half Black. When my father married my mother in Japan, in Kyoto, Japan, my mother was disowned by her family and was actually threatened with violence to be with my father. To grow up, and I spent my first 12 years in Japan, to grow up as pretty much myself and my sister as the only any person of any shade of any color that wasn't Japanese, was quite difficult. It was a really challenging experience. It did shape me. It made me quite determined. I threw myself into everything I could to prove my worth. That was what I spent my life doing, proving my worth all of the time. And that has followed me even to this day. I think that is what probably drives me. That to say, so in the end, I ended up in a career. I thought I was going to do work for the United Nations, save the world, do development. That was my dream. I studied, got my master's in international politics. That was my dream. A brief exposure to the world of the United Nations quickly disabused myself of that. I found the bureaucracy and the hierarchy and the politics of that organization not something that was conducive to me. And I felt that if I was in the world of private capital, I could make more of a difference. And that's sort of how that's where I find myself in the world of banking and finance, is that, and I worked in spaces in that world where I did make some amazing differences. I helped to fund countries. I helped to fund organizations, companies. It was exciting, fantastic, again, a very privileged place to be. But what I learned from that experience and what I bring to what I do now is that raising money, raising capital, raising funding for anything, country, company, organizations, there is an art to it. And, because I had always, even as a financier, really also contributed personally to reinvesting back, into communities. I helped launch 2 banks that I work for, their community investment programs, and helping them to decide where they were going to put their philanthropic money to support communities. So I always had that real sense that it was really important to use capital for good, and that was before, any of the sort of social and impact investing developments actually happened. I was kind of working in that space anyway. But when all of a sudden the zeitgeist moment of social finance and impact investing sort of came, I just decided, why not? Why not leave my cushy life and use my skills to work with organizations? And particularly what has always inspired me are some of the amazing young people and others who have these creative, innovative ideas to create solutions that can make a change in our communities. And it has been my mission to kind of bring social entrepreneurs together with those who are wanting to invest in social change. And it's easy. It's not easy. It's a challenge. So many barriers to it, and on so many dimensions. But I also feel quite encouraged that more and more people know and understand what value, when we talk about build back better, those lovely slogans, this is what we're talking about. This is where the effort, the investment, the time and attention needs to go if we really want to make our societies stronger and more resilient. So in the end, I look at some of the real imbalances, I have to say imbalances that exist still. My work at Extend Ventures, as was mentioned, we have done some amazing research into the amount of funding that's available to diverse founders. Okay, and this is commercial funding. This is venture capital, but I will tell you but social businesses are also governed by similar challenges. So what we found, we looked at 10 years of venture capital funding in this country, 10 years. And we were able to understand that 11% of that funding went to women, right? 0.24% of 10 years of venture capital funding went to Black founders. More shocking, I hope you will agree, was 0.02% went to Black female founders, right? So already the scale of the inequity of that, it tells you a lot. And in reality, it is about the infrastructure, the systems, the processes, the biases, the whole mechanisms of how funding is delivered that causes that kind of inequity. And when I look at that, those statistics, and also in speaking to you as a community who are really there working with refugees, with populations coming to this country, and working with them, I look at what I call intersectionality, right? I think that if we don't look at what gender, where gender plays, what racial equity plays, what social justice plays, we have to look at all of the dimensions if we're really going to make a difference. And it's really important, to my mind, the people who want to or say they want to fund solutions, that is where those intersectionalities really need to be understood and embraced. I would also say that I kind of get discouraged a bit on the one hand about how many barriers and again the unwillingness to kind of the people who wield influence and power, particularly funders, to give up their power, to be able to kind of understand that we will only be able to create an equitable system if we really work in collaboration, work together, design together. It's not even just about the decision makers. I always hear a lot about, on investment committees, et cetera, we have to have more representation. Yes, at the decision-making level, we definitely need more representation. But we also have to have representation at the design level, at the grassroots level, understanding, building up from what the problems are that you, all of you as amazing entrepreneurs yourselves, are working hard to solve. And if the funding ecosystem doesn't understand the dynamics of that and helps through their funding to build up from the grassroots, the reality is that we will not have any real systemic change, any real shift. And so the work that I do basically is really trying to focus on that through research, through talking like this, through funding directly. I am an investor, I invest directly. I'm a donor, I donate directly. I'm the founder of something called Black Funding Network. So tomorrow I have my own crowdfunder. I'm gonna raise, hopefully in 90 minutes, I'm gonna raise some good money for 3 community organizations who are supporting our communities, and that's the way I can kind of do my bit, and trying to make the change. And again, I think if the more that I call it, finding the common ground that we all share. But yes, we all have our differences. We all have different areas, priorities, etc. But we also have a lot of common ground. And from that common ground, that's where we as a community have influence. We can really, I remember I came here in 2000, a long time ago, and David Cameron's Big Society, and everybody was just trashing Big Society. And I came from America, and for me, Big Society was a great thing. This is the best idea. And I could not understand why we couldn't see that there was something more than us as individuals, that we were this big community. So yeah, that's what I do. I hope, I can work with some of you. I'm really excited to learn more about what you do. I'm excited about working with Social Enterprise UK, because I think they're an amazing organization that can help bring us together. That, that's the power of community. And I am, I'm excited. So I hope I've done enough. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. I think you probably couldn't say how many responses there were to what you were saying. A heck of a lot of support there, and you've really given us brilliant food for thought. I'm aware of our time, and can I just ask you one question I think the audience would love to hear the answer to, because you've got a brilliantly diverse audience here, and you are the expert, as we know, at creating opportunities by introducing people who wouldn't otherwise have contact. Can you give us any advice to us in the audience, please, Patricia? Advice for the guests on how they could help to increase opportunities for the people who are starting social enterprises, the entrepreneurs that you mentioned. Any tips, maybe one tip for us?
My big tip is just provide visibility. However and wherever you can, make sure that you are championing the work that you know about. The fact that so much of the really excellent work that's being done isn't seen or known about. And when they're visible, all of a sudden you can see momentum. You can see momentum. People will want to support them or, come behind them. So visibility, and I think that's a big thing.
Thank you so much, Patricia. Fantastic. And I'm sure there could be some people wanting to talk to you and ask you questions. Thank you both.